Today, SAP released SAP Companion 4.0.1 in preview. This is a significant release because it's the one where the floating panel SAP Companion is finally available to us. Now, although this is only available in preview, you can actually see it yourself fairly easily in your existing setup without having to go and change the Fiori catalog to point to the preview framework, but rather just by using an in-URL parameter. So we'll look at how to do that and how you can get your first look at this floating panel, which will become standard by default probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks at most. So you should be familiar already with the existing SAP Companion, which gives you what we typically call the carousel down the side here. And note in here, in this example, we have help topics, we have guided tours, we have learning, so you'd get simulations, courseware, other things in here, and we have what's new as well. Now, on the help topics, when you hover over a help tile in here, it gives you this little pointer that points to the relevant help hotspot here, and then when you click on it, you'll see the actual bubble here. I point these out. This is standard existing stuff, but there are some changes in how that appears. So let's go and look at how to change this so that we can now see the new floating panel. As I say, it's done just by inserting a new URL parameter. This has been said that it's just for the preview of this floating panel, but I think it might actually remain around for a while longer in case you don't want the panel and you want to go back to the old version. But for now, just go into here and do ampersand help dash. That's true for any of the parameters for SAP Companion. And then it is going to be CMP4, all uppercase, equals 1. Okay? And this is why I think that it will probably be around to disable this if you don't want to use it once it becomes a default. My gut feel is that CMP4 equals 0 will switch it off again. But this is what we've got for the moment. So let's now, actually before I do that, let me hide the help panel again. Okay, so now let's go and see it brand new. So that's refreshed and I've got the usual question mark here. Nothing's changed there. But when I click this now, this is what I get. This is the new floating panel. It's not docked to any side of the screen yet. And I can move this around. I think there's a few reasons why they've done this. One, with some of the newer apps, it's kind of difficult to get the screen to be shifted to accommodate the side panel. 2, it looks a bit more like Walk Me like this. And 3, it's got a lot more flexibility to move it around if you want to, within the constraints of the application window. Now, it does look like there's a lot of space up the top here. What we're currently missing in this preview version is a search feature. There is going to be a search field right in here, and that will allow you to search through all of this content, all of on-screen help, guided tours, learning materials, and what's new. Whereas before, the search was really only going to search through those help tiles. Now, while we're here, note that what was help topics has now been rebranded to on-screen help. And guided tours is still guided tours, learning materials was just called learning, but it's now learning materials, and what's new is still what's new. So we've still got the same 4 categories of content here. The downside of this approach is that from here, if I want to see those help topics, I have to go and select on-screen help. And once I do that, I've now got something that I was a bit more familiar with. This is basically the exact contents of what was the carousel down the side. Now, you can see here as I hover over these things, again, I've kind of got that laser pointer or tether as they used to call it, but now it kind of fades out a bit. It links to the actual hotspot, but then it fades out as it gets towards the help panel. And the other thing about this is that it really doesn't point to the exact tile. It kind of seems like it does here, but if I move this down to here and now do it, these ones here, they all basically just point to the help panel itself, and it's not actually tied to the specific tile that you're pointing to. Okay, so that I'm not as keen on. You can see that clearly with this one here with create with reference. It just points to the overall help panel and not the specific tile that you're hovering over. I mean, it's fairly obvious because it highlights it, but I still kind of liked it actually connecting to the tile. The color has also changed. The color will now match the color of the hotspot. So here I've got this kind of like greeny teal color. That's the same color that's used for these laser pointers now. So that's a little bit nicer at least. Okay, so let me go back to here. You can see that we've got the usual 4 things that are available if information of those particular categories actually exists. If there's no guided tours, obviously you won't see this blue tile. If there's no learning materials and you're not showing the Learning Center button, you won't see this one. If there's no what's new, you won't see that. So you might think, well, why is this so big? And you can't really change the size of it. This all seems to be wasted space. You could make this a lot smaller. You could have these stacked 2 by 2 or something, and it'd be a much smaller dialog box. But this is where they're planning for future capabilities. Soon, in a future release, you're going to be able to link this to other sources of information, whether that's a SharePoint site or, I don't know, maybe an LMS or something else like that, but other sources of information. And they will have little tiles in here as well. So you'll be able to jump to other sources of information directly from here as well, to make this a real one-stop shop for all of your help content that might help the users with what they're doing in the application. So that's why there's more space here. Now let's look into a couple more specifics. As I said, this is now floating around and you can put it anywhere you want, but you can also, if you choose to, you can kind of have it look the old way by attaching it to the side of the screen. So we can dock it here using this button and it will look basically the way that the carousel currently looks. It has moved the screen over sideways. It will do that where it can, so this isn't overlapping any content. So you might like this version. The other big change in here is that you've got an X button to close it down, but you've also got this minimize button. This is the new replacement for being able to collapse things down to be just the help stripe that you'd see down the side. That's no longer available. Instead, if you click this minimize button here, it minimizes it down to this question mark in the bottom right. You can't move this to anywhere else, but this lets you know that the help is still kind of running. So from here, I can click on this again and it will bring this back. It remembers where this was positioned beforehand. So if you had it in the tile view and then minimize it down here, when you expand it again, it's going to go back to the tile view. And it will be positioned exactly where it was before. If I move this all the way over here, minimize it, bring it back, it's going to put it back there. So it's nice that it remembers that for you as well. So another nice thing that you can do when you minimize it, again, like you could with the help stripe, is if I've got the on-screen help displayed and I can see these hotspots here, if I minimize that down to here, I've still got these hotspots available to me. So it really does work like the help stripe did, but in a kind of different view. So far so good. Okay, one last thing I'll point out. This is the preview version, so they're obviously still working on it. We are going to get the search option in here as well. You'll see that there's also a translate content button here. Now, previously with SAP Companion, you only saw the translate button if your interface language was something different to what the help was being provided in. With this new version of SAP Companion, what's going to happen is that even if you have got your UI language set to English and all of the help is in English, you'll be able to select another language to translate it into. Just like you can for simulations and book pages in the trainer. You can choose any language you like from the available ones and it will dynamically translate it for you. That option will also be available in SAP Companion at some stage. Hopefully in version 4.0.1 when it officially goes live. They're still working on this, I can tell, because earlier today this icon was not here. And it is here now, but clicking on it does nothing. So they've clearly started to put this functionality into preview again. This is work in progress, just to give you a taste of what's coming. but I fully expect that to give us the full translation capabilities in SAP Companion when this is officially released in 2 or 3 weeks' time. I could be wrong, they could just hide this again because it's not quite ready, but this is definitely a very promising sign. Anyway, this is the new SAP Companion 4.0.1, currently in preview. If you add help CMP4 equals 1 to your URL, you'll be able to see it and try it out yourself. I've been very much looking forward to this, and it's nice to see that it's finally here. Hope you like it too. Thanks for watching, and if you do, please subscribe to the channel.